Yeah.
Good afternoon, members. It is time to start the meeting. We have also formed a quorum, so I call the meeting to order. First of all, confirmation of our minutes. Members, please confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of February 2015. You find it in paper CB bracket 1852/14-15. Up to now, the Secretariat hasn't received any proposed amendments. So if members do not disagree, I would suggest that we confirm the minutes of that meeting. Any comments? No? Then minutes confirmed. Thank you. Information papers issued since the last meeting. Quite a number of them. The details have been set out in the agenda. So, members, concerning the information papers, any specific views? No? Then, item 3. Items for discussion at the next meeting. Our next meeting will be held on the 23rd of June, which is a regular meeting. At that meeting, to be held at 2:30 p.m. on the 23rd of June, the administration has suggested 3 items. First of all, Public Works Project item number 259RS, cycle tracks connecting Northwest New Territories with Northeast New Territories, Tumun to Shangshui section remaining. Second, work of the Urban Renewal Authority, third, progress report on heritage conservation initiatives. In order to have sufficient time to finish the discussion of all the items, I suggest that for our next regular meeting, we extend the meeting time till 5:45. Any comments, please? Thank you. In this case, we move on to item 4 on the agenda, regrading of multidisciplinary directorate posts in the Architectural Services Department. Please invite the government team to join us.
I
would like to welcome the public officers who are in attendance. We have a list of attendees, and I'm not going to introduce them one by one. Who will walk us through the paper? Ms. Ho, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. We've submitted a paper to the panel on development, and that's in relation to the 7 multidisciplinary chief architect posts in the ASD. Would like to regrade them into single disciplinary posts. 3 of them should become single disciplinary chief architect posts. For the other 4, they will be regraded to Chief Quantity Surveyor, Chief Building Services Engineer, Chief Structural Engineer, and Chief Maintenance Surveyor, respectively. This is to tie in with the operation of the ASD so as to better utilize the human resources. We don't involve any creation of additional posts, and it won't involve additional deployment of resources. Mainly speaking, about 20 years ago, when the project management branch was first set up, at that time there weren't adequate manpower officers to run the project management branches, and so we had to get appropriate staff members to fill the multidisciplinary posts. In recent years, we have got knowledge management portals, and therefore the SD has got certain knowledge about project management. Therefore, it is hoped that we have dedicated staff to tie in with the various needs of the different project management branches so that it will be a better utilization of human resources, and we don't need to go through the selection process to find the most suitable candidates in different disciplines. The ASD has already talked to the management of different grades as well as its own grades. Consultation has been carried out and has got the agreement of the various stakeholders. Today, if we get your approval, we will make the due arrangements. I'll pause here after my brief introductory remarks. The floor is now open to members for questions. Members? Yes, Mr. Bachan. 4 minutes each for question and answer. Mr. Chairman, according to the paper and according to the verbal explanation by the government, in principle, I think it is reasonable and sensible, and I cannot see any reason to object to it. However, in the past, our understanding of the operation of departments was that sometimes there was a structural or organizational change to tie in with changes in the actual circumstances. Say, for example, in this case, you have had a history of 20 years. In the beginning, you didn't have dedicated staff, and so you had to rely on other disciplines. But sometimes the government may make changes to the organizational structure so as to tailor-make for certain officers. Say, for example, in the beginning, the RTHK would like to get a director of broadcasting instead of insisting that the candidate must be a degree holder. The requirement was dispensed with so as to tailor-make for certain candidates. Now, in this case, I want to know whether the impact will be having a negative impact on some people, and is it going to be tailor-made for certain people so that they can sort of become a high flyer and will get promoted? I'm really worried because if it is purely for the purpose of if it is to tie in with the actual circumstances, then I will give you my full support.
I'm just afraid that there are too many political circumstances. Just like the CAD, those who were promoted are always in that particular circle of people. So we don't want LegCo to become a tool for people to seek promotions. So can you please explain whether you are using this as a tool to promote certain people? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chan. This arrangement is mainly for operational needs for the Architectural Services Department. You can see that these 7 multidisciplinary posts right now are actually the number is similar to that of previous posts. So colleagues do not actually have any comments on such arrangements. Mr. Tang? Well, actually, this arrangement is even better because we have a balanced arrangement for all the different disciplines. Regarding this change, have you done any internal review on that? Or this new arrangement, we've actually consulted with our representatives internally. No, so what I meant was, did the ASD suggested this conversion, or was this handed to you from above? Well, we're actually making conversions gradually in different disciplines. This is actually quite beneficial because our original arrangement was that those who were sent here or to a designated grade would be transferred back to his original rank in his department after 3 years. We believe that this new conversion would actually be a smoother arrangement for the staff. Mr. Lowai Kwok, please. Thank you. I am in support of converting the 7 multidisciplinary posts to designated grade posts. But I also want to understand the proportion. I hope that you're just not trying to balance out the figures and that there really is such a need for this conversion. And I believe that you're not just going to look at the figures mechanically. Although we are talking about chief posts, I'm also concerned with the professional posts under the chief post to see whether there are enough resources in those posts. Mr. Tang, thank you for your question. Converting the multidisciplinary posts into the single disciplinary posts do not affect any of the resources of the other posts. We are just trying to convert the multidisciplinary into single disciplinary so that there would be a clearer path for promotion. The ones working in the post below would still be supporting the work of the chief chairman. Well, this may actually not be included in the paper, but I just want to suggest that those professionals working in the post below would still see a good utilization of human resources. Who would like to answer this question? Ms. Au. Thank you. Every year, we would conduct an exercise of internal resource utilization to see whether there are adequate resources. In the case that we see resources are inadequate, we would apply for resources through the resource allocation exercise. We would also review our current resources and, in accordance with priority, try to fully deploy the resources. That is our usual practice. Any follow-up, Dr. Low? No, thank you. I also have a question. Paragraph 27 in the paper said that members of the professions have been consulted. How did you consult the members? Did you consult the workers' union or the associations? Can you tell us more about the conversion from multidisciplinary to single disciplinary posts? What effect there would have on the succession in the future? Ms. Au, can you address this question? Thank you, Chairman. When we consulted the staff and colleagues, we did it comprehensively. We disclosed all the papers and information and we consulted members of all the professional grades in the department as well as the heads of grades of the affected professions so that they would send representatives to attend our meetings. Also consulted the departmental consultative committee. And we explained to them how the conversion would work. The different representatives addressed questions to us, and we tried to explain to them for better understanding. Some of the representatives are actually colleagues from BSc, and they're actually under the EMSD, and their response was that they're also in support of our suggestion. So that was how we conducted the consultation. Well, would this kind of conversion affect internal promotion? It would not, because the multidisciplinary posts originally did not belong to any one particular discipline. So we had to leave a post for these multidisciplinary post holders. Now that we are converting them to single disciplinary posts, it would be much easier for them to provide staff training and deployment, and that would be conducive to succession and in human resources utilization. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I think we would conclude our discussion here. Do you support the government in converting and regrading of multidisciplinary directorate posts in ASD? If there is no objection, we endorse this paper, and they would submit seek recommendation from the establishment subcommittee. Thank you. Well, we're actually ahead of time, and we can move on to the next agenda item. But agenda item 5 is new measures for the training of skilled workers for the construction industry. Well, we can begin our discussion early if the government representatives have arrived.
韓秘書長，因為我哋嗰個上一個議題咧就
Mr. Pt1, we have already concluded our discussion for the previous item. Do you have a PowerPoint to present to us on this agenda item? No, we do not have a PowerPoint, but we could brief you on the paper. Well, I think we can believe, although the CIC representatives are not yet present. All right, we could leave more time for discussion then. Permanent Secretary, please take us through the paper. I'd like to remind all of you that we are a little bit ahead of time, so not everyone is in attendance, but we can begin with the briefing. We have still 2 more members from the CIC who have not yet arrived, but we would start with the briefing of the paper first. Thank you. Thank you. I will just walk you through the paper. The government has always been concerned with the training of skilled workers for the construction industry. In the past few years, we've been working with the CIC to launch new measures to train construction workers. And we have received altogether $320 million approved by the FC a few years ago to support training. And mainly, we want to provide better training to attract more people to join the construction industry. As of now, we have already trained 6,900 semi-skilled workers,
exceeding the original target of 6,000. Most of them are aged 35 or below. So when compared with the average age of the registered construction workers, which was 47, is a younger generation. To tie in with our long-term development, we will continue to launch infrastructural projects. And then in the private sector, there are also many projects, and therefore the construction industry has experienced a tight manpower supply. Since the year 2009, we have been increasing the number of training places, and we are exceeding sort of 8,000 per year. But most of them have been semi-skilled workers. Nowadays, we need skilled workers. Therefore, both the CIC and the industry agreed with the government that we need to be more systematic in turning the semi-skilled workers into skilled workers. In the past, for the semi-skilled workers who have graduated from the courses, they have to work on construction sites and they had to accumulate experience to enhance themselves. Usually, it took them 3 to 4 years to become skilled workers. Now, we have studied the matter together with the CIC and the industry. Now we would like to have a pilot scheme so as to provide a quota of 1,000 places to provide systematic on-the-job training in the form of a pilot scheme with a number of features. First of all, the CIC will have a collaborative training mode so that contractors and subcontractors would also take part. And there will be on-the-job training on site and also skills enhancement courses. Secondly, for the employers who take part in the scheme, they have to promise to provide a minimum monthly wage to the workers so as to provide a more secure and stable level of wages. And then we also provide a trainer subsidy. And upon completion of the training, there will be a bonus. So for the semi-skilled workers who haven't had a year's experience will be eligible to take part in this scheme running for a year to 2. And thirdly, we will be having skills enhancement programs together with trade unions. We are targeting at the in-service semi-skilled workers with an experience ranging from 1 to 3 years. It will run from 1 I mean 6 to 12 months' time, it will cost us $217 million, including $100 million to be funded by the government, so as to pay the CIC, so that we will be collaborating with the CIC and the industry, so that we can provide a quality team of construction workers so as to drive the sustainable development of the construction industry. In fact, we are supposed to have representatives from the CIC. They're still on their way. We look forward to comments from you. We'll try our best to answer your questions. Thank you. The floor is open to members for questions. I just want to remind you that in accordance with Rule 33A of the Rules of Procedures, if a member would like to speak on a topic in which he has direct or indirect pecuniary interest, then that member must declare the interest and then disclose the nature of the interest before speaking. For members who would like to ask questions, I've got 2 on the list. First of all, Ms. Chen Yunhan and then Dr. Lo Wai Kwok. Ms. Chen. 4 minutes for question and answer. Ms. Chen. Thank you. I haven't got any interest to declare. I support the scheme, but then we have got many questions. I'm a member of the trade union. So first of all, I need to say that I don't have any interest to declare. I support the item. I've got many questions. I have a trade union background. I don't know whether I need to sort of declare this. I've got many questions. This is because a long time ago, during the days of Professor Arthur Lee, when he was the head of the Education Bureau, at that time we had on-the-job training. At that time, Hong Kong was having a difficult time. We tried to enhance the skills of our workers. At that time, we were mainly focusing on the catering industry and the service industries. And I used to be the convener of a working group for the catering industry. At that time, we got a representative from the relevant industry, namely catering. We have got the employers of the industry. We have also got trade union representatives from different political affiliations. At that time, it was the VTC that was in charge of it. It was quite natural. Now, it is quite odd. I must say that I support your scheme. Now, the workers have complained that they are interested in taking part in the programs, but then it is difficult to attend the courses because the programs will be held during the working hours. And then for carpenters, instead of training people for a single trade, I think nowadays the skills should be of a broader nature. You said that the CIC has got representatives from different trades. If I may put this to the Permanent Secretary, in the past we used to have the on-the-job training. At that time, the government didn't have any courses. The Chambers of Commerce, the training bodies, and other professionals joined hands to draw up the curriculum. Now, in this case, yes, you have got very good intentions. I support whatever amount of money you're going to set aside, but then you need to have a platform with input from different sectors and from different disciplines to decide on the arrangements, so that, say, for example, they go to the classes after hours and the skills are of a broader nature. Now, we have layers of subcontracting. It is important to give people confidence that after they have studied for a particular skill, they will secure a job. Now, just now, 2 other guest speakers have arrived. So you are going against the earlier schemes of on-the-job training approach. Who will answer the question? I'll try to answer the question, and then I will defer to the representatives from the CIC. Ms. Chen referred to a number of things. First of all, she was wondering whether the courses would be contradicting the working hours. We have got 2 parts. First of all, you have to work on a construction site and you receive the mentorship from a master. The other one is a skills enhancement course. So we need to arrange for classes. In a moment, say for example, Dr. Pang can brief you on that. We'll try to work with the trade unions to arrange for courses after hours. Mr. Horn, I think it shouldn't be something imposed by the administration. You should leave it to the 3 parties to think of the details. Otherwise, the arrangements will be irrelevant. When you answer my questions, you shouldn't take the answers from your colleagues. Well, many people have queried your arrangements. You can see that I've emphasized that I do support your scheme, but I'm afraid that the scheme has got many problems. So can you give an answer concerning the arrangements? Yes, I can defer to my colleagues, but I have to say that we are still studying the arrangements. We will be receiving input from, say, for example, the trade unions. Dr. Pang, thank you for your question. First of all, chambers of commerce, trade unions, contractors and subcontractors, we have had meetings with them in the past 6 to 9 months' time. We have had informal meetings so as to make sure that the arrangements are facilitating the workers. Now, we have got the intermediate trade tests and tests of a higher level. We can no longer confine ourselves to the classrooms because classroom courses would focus on the basic skills. So we need to go out. We have to go to the construction site. We have to learn how to be coordinated, and therefore it has to be carried out on the construction site. And therefore we can't hold a course during weekends. As to the worry that there would not be jobs available, well, in fact, for the contractors and subcontractors and even the trade unions, now for this one, it is not to be launched by CIC itself. Instead, we are cooperating with the stakeholders in the market. In other words, those who are interested and who are capable to deliver the course will come forward. And in other words, we can guarantee that somebody can hold on to a job for almost 2 years' time. No, you haven't answered my question. Now, for the CIC, you are taking the lead. You should have a tripartite working group, like what we had in the past. Now, the CIC is taking the lead, and then you try others to cooperate with you. On the last occasion, I think it was a tripartite working group. Now the CIC, you are taking the administrative lead and you ask others to join you. So it is very different. Chair, I have to attend other meetings. My colleagues will follow this up on my behalf. Dr. Low. I support the proposal before us. I also support the funding request. This is indeed important for us to set aside money so as to turn the semi-skilled workers into skilled workers. On the one hand, we are meeting the requirements of the industry. On the other hand, the workers will be given the opportunity to upgrade their skills and they can move up the career ladder. For the skills enhancement, I'm concerned about the effectiveness of the scheme. Please turn to Annex 1. Some figures have been given. The original quota was 6,000. Now it has been revised to 7,640. And then for the enhanced construction supervisor technician training scheme, I think your target quota is 1,000, but then you have only got 480 completing the courses. For the ECMTS as well as the ECSTS, I want to know why there have been the differences. And also for the senior worker management course, again, the achievement is less than the original quota. I'll be brief. For the enhanced construction supervisor technician training scheme, the quota is still 1,000, but so far we have only trained 480 trainees. As to the subsidies to the fees of trade tests, again, it has exceeded our quota. What we want to do is to deploy more resources so as to train up more workers. Maybe the CIC can supplement. Could I like to answer the question? Mr. Leung, please. Yes, when we look at the table, you can see that the ECMTS is very successful. The original training quota was 6,000, and now it is we have revised it to 7,640. But then for the senior worker management course as well as the skills enhancement courses, the revised quotas are lower than that of the original training quota. This is because the senior workers may not have time to attend the management course or the skills enhancement courses. As to the specified training courses, instead of 6,000, the achievement is the revised target is 2,380. This is because they may also get their skills upgraded by taking the senior worker management course.
Okay.
So these are as for the trade test. We have from 6,000 to 9,500, so we have to utilize our resources. Well, we want to allocate more resources to provide workers, and so this is the reason for our recommendations. We are going to monitor the effectiveness, and we hope that we are going to have enough resources to nurture new manpower. Can you also explain to the subsidy on the trade test? Why is it from 3 million to 2 million? How come the subsidies have been reduced? Oh, thank you. I will try to answer this question. Well, I wasn't involved in this earlier, but I think that it's because of our test is actually more efficient than we originally thought, and so we wanted to provide more tests in this regard, and we want to use the money that is left to provide more training to the workers. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Well, this is a new pilot scheme. Well, how did you come up with the number 100 million? Or the CIC said you were going to provide funding. The government said they would fund 100 million. How did you come up with this figure? Well, the CIC has calculated that that for 1,000 workers, you would need to spend 217 million. So the CIC, of course, is going to support the training in construction industry, so they are going to subsidize. But this is a new training scheme to provide more training for skilled workers. The government, as an important stakeholder, has decided to fund 100 million to show its commitment. So this is the reason. Mr. Leung, well, we're talking about public funding. The 100 million came from the Treasury. I think the funding should go directly to the workers or those who are being trained. For a person who's not working temporarily, I think money is the best way to assist them. I think it's better for the government to fund them directly. A person without skills or a person with inadequate skills really need to try to catch up. The industry bears the responsibility to train people for the construction industry. The construction industry is able to do this. Let's say this is a new industry. Nobody knows about the skills. And of course, the government will need to lead the way. But now, we're talking about low-income construction work. I've worked in a construction site before. You're not talking about work with many skills. Why does the government need to commit 100 million? Did the CIC said, oh, you will need to pay me money or else I won't do anything? Or what? I mean, these two are not directly linked. Have you heard from the workers? I think the money should be given directly to the industry workers. I mean, otherwise, the training, of course, you could still leave to the industry. Permanent Secretary, well, if you could look at Annex 3, then there are some numbers. So we're talking about 270 million in total, and 132 million with a star marked there is for training allowance. Well, as you said, Mr. Leung, 1,000 quotas. We will provide training subsidy directly for the trainees. So we're spending the money on the trainees. So they would get about 5,000 to 6,000 per month. It's just that the money will go through CIC to be given to the employer and then given to the employee. So we're not talking about any kind of administrative costs here. And Mr. Leung? Thank you. I'll try to clarify for Mr. Leung Kwok Kong. We've been talking to stakeholders, including representatives from the industry and from the union. The employer also need to spend money for training these people. We're talking about training semi-skilled workers here and not new and not totally new people. So we hope that there would be a systematic training for the semi-skilled workers to attain a skilled worker level within 2 years. The employer usually, would not let the trainee try out in all the different trades. But if we invite the employer to participate in the training, then the employee would be able to try out different trades, and there would be subsidies for both the trainer and the trainees. And we hope ultimately this would assist the trainees to achieve a certain level within a certain period of time. We have set up minimum wage for the employers to follow for the first couple of years. Well, what if there's inclement weather? We set up a minimum monthly wage, which we are in discussion with the industry right now, that it might be 12,000 or 12,500. Let's say we are now in typhoon month. They would still be able to get a minimum monthly wage so that they'll be able to survive. So this is some of the supplementary information I'd like to give for Mr. Leung. Next, Ms. Alice Mack, thank you. We are in support of the training so that we'll be able to increase the number of skilled workers in Hong Kong. We are in support of this paper, but as Ms. Chen Yun Han said, for the program design or class hours, have we really talked to the industry about that? Have we talked to the workers' union, because they really represent the workers? We hear that the CIC may not have enough skilled trainers to teach the courses, and workers would not want to go and take classes that are during work hours. We really want to provide more practical courses for the workers so that they'll be able to enhance their skills. Would you be cooperating more with the union? As Ms. Chen said, it seems that the CIC is actually leading these measures. Can you really enhance the role of the workers' union so that more workers will be willing to participate in these courses? Thank you. The CIC needs to provide training for workers in the construction industry. The CIC is not only an employer organization. Their representatives are from the industry, from employees, and also representatives from chambers of commerces, etc. So I think there is quite a balanced representation. The new measures we're talking about are training semi-skilled workers into skilled workers. For training workers and to technicians, then you need more training. You need the employers to provide on-site training. In the current plan, some of the semi-skilled workers have only 1 to 3 years of experience, but they may not be skilled technicians yet. So they can try to pass the intermediate trade test and then join as apprentices. Ms. Mack is concerned with the arrangement of classes and not the learning as apprentices. I think we'll need to talk with the stakeholders in a more thorough manner and before we come to a conclusion. We are going to talk into detail with interested parties and to see how long the class hours should be. Well, any follow-up? Well, from what we heard, we are afraid that the package is not quite attractive to current workers. Well, you're hoping to increase the number of trained workers, but the trainees do not seem too enthusiastic about this plan. I hope that there would be more dialogue between the CIC and the workers so that the package would be attractive in terms of classroom design, in salary, etc. Otherwise, nobody is going to take any of these classes. Well, you talked about two kinds of courses right now. I think you should encourage more participation from us so that we can also encourage workers to take these classes. Well, I think the government representatives have heard your suggestions. Next, Mr. Albert Yip. Chairman, in principle, I am not going to object to young people working as skilled workers, but you have to explore to see whether these current arrangements are effective. Young people are unwilling to join this trade because of various reasons. One being the students need to take certain classes, and during that time they are not paid. I think you have to try to improve the situation. Hong Kong was different 20 to 30 years ago. Many young people were unable to finish secondary school and they were willing to join the construction industry. But now there are a variety of choices such as working in the service industry, and that has created many job opportunities as well. Working in construction is very gruesome. You have to work outdoors and in inclement weather. In the long run, this trade is actually better paid than those in renovation. But those in renovation would get paid immediately, and they would rather work now and then study later to get certificates in inspecting windows or such.
But then if a trainee doesn't have a wage level that can make his ends meet, then it will be difficult. So I think your scheme is not going far enough. I think you need to make changes to the arrangements. You can't expect people to take time off to study the course. Nowadays, you have got many different types of licenses or registrations. In the past, the construction workers could work in different trades. Now you have got different kinds of trades. Sometimes you get your license once a year and then you need to renew. If a worker has 3 or 5 different licenses, can we not follow the arrangement of our vehicle driving licenses instead of making the workers renewing their licenses all the time and at different times in the year? So I think you need to make it more facilitating. So first of all, you need to make it attractive to the new entrants. Secondly, when you organize the programs, make sure that you are not making it too academic. Maybe the training bodies would like to justify their existence. They want to allow their instructors to have longer programs And so you're expecting the trainees to stay away from work for a longer time. So you're doing this at the expense of others' rivals. And this is disastrous. There's something wrong with your arrangements. I won't object to your scheme, but I think this is not good enough. Mr. Horn, would you like to give a brief reply? Yes, inadequacy. I just want to explain that it is not going to be delivered in the classrooms of the CIC. Now you have to receive training on the construction sites. In the past, you were an apprentice for 3 or 4 years. Now we want to expedite it, and you finish the course in 1 to 2 years' time. Yes, we do have the registration of construction workers, and we have defined different trades. This is because we think that it is a good way to enhance the image of construction workers. We would also like to do something so that there will be dedicated workers for dedicated jobs. But then it doesn't mean that you would be a person possessing a single skill. In fact, you can possess multi-skills. And then, of course, many people are concerned about the wage levels. In our paper, we have also said that at the beginning of the scheme, we are talking about at least $15,000 being the minimum wage for the first year and more in the second year. And we hope that the young people will see that there is a future in this construction industry and they will become the successors to today's masters. Mr. Wu Chi, 2 points here. The representatives of the industry would always tell us that as a result of the inability to award the tenders, construction workers are facing problems with finding jobs. But here you are saying that in the next 3 or 4 years, we have got a shortage of workers, and the shortage is as much as 10,000 or more per year. So can the government tell us more? Is there unemployment, underemployment, or shortage of manpower? And then for the average age of the construction workers, despite the increasing number of works projects, we see that the average age of construction workers has been increased from 50 in the past to 52 nowadays. So with the increasing average age of construction workers, I want to know what you make of it, and what about attracting young people to join the construction industry? Have your efforts been unsatisfactory? And with this fund of money available, are you setting a long-term goal so as to make sure that the average age of the construction workers will be lowered? Or can you tell us whether you think that it is necessary to lower it, or do you think that an average age of 50 is good enough to cope with the work in the construction industry? Shortage of 10 to 15,000. I think the CIC has looked at the workload as well as the manpower needed. It is something for the longer term projection. Well, Mr. Wu is saying that it seems that there has been delays, and so people may go out of jobs. Well, I hope that this won't last for too long, because in that case we have to do it once again. As I have said on other occasions, it is our projection that every year the workload of the construction industry will be about $200 billion in public and private sector. So we are short of manpower to the tune of 10 to 15,000 workers. In the year 2014, the average age of the registered construction workers was 47. Well, the aging of the construction industry population. I think it has to do with the general aging of our population. A few years ago, the construction industry could not attract enough young people. But in recent years, the Development Bureau as well as the CIC have done a lot of promotional work. Recently, we have got some new figures. And for the year 2014, newly registered construction workers had 38 being the average age, so lower than the overall average age. We are also doing some tracking work, and in the past only 8% would like to join the industry. Now we have got 25%, and we hope that through this effort, as I have said, we can enable the young people see that despite the hard work involved, there is a future in the construction industry. Do you have a target? You mean the age of the construction workers? It will be, relatively speaking, difficult to set that. Let's see whether we are successful with this 1,000 quota scheme. Now, you have said that the average age is 47. Do you think that is unsatisfactory? What is the view of the CIC? Of course, we welcome more young people joining the construction industry because it is indeed hard work. On my part, I want to ask this question, and in fact, members have already talked about the figures. Of course, I know it is a pilot scheme. But then it appears to us that a quota of 1,000, but then there is a shortage of 10 to 15,000. So the quota is just too small. For workers who have benefited as to how we can keep them in the industry for the sake of our development, maybe when they joined the schemes, they received the subsidies, they received an allowance, but when they have finished, they won't get the allowance anymore. In other words, the contractor employing such workers will have a heavier burden. In other words, there will be an impact on the future wage growth. What is your comment? And then for the longer term, we have been told that in the past we would like to train workers to become semi-skilled workers. Now you want to enhance it and you want them to become skilled workers. Today we are talking about more advanced skills like doing the prefabricated modules. In other words, in the future, we may need to further enhance the skills of the workers, and you need to bear that in mind as well. For the long-term development of the construction industry, other than the professionals, we also need skilled workers, and then the skills that we demand of them will be enhanced all the time. So I wonder if the government has got any plan at all in this regard. Permanent Secretary. Mr. Chairman, today we lack skilled workers. They are in short supply. All along, the CIC has been training up the semi-skilled workers, taking the intermediate trade tests. Now, as to whether there's a worry that after being trained, workers will ask for a higher wage and then they may leave, well, I don't think there is any justification, because there is a strong demand for such workers. If somebody has taken the test, and if we are talking about the employer who has given the training, I'm sure the trainee would be interested to stay with that employer. But of course, they cannot expect to pay a lower wage. I don't think we need to worry about the availability of jobs. 1,000 being the quota. Of course, this is a pilot scheme only. We hope that in 2 years' time we can exhaust the 1,000 quota. If there's a very keen demand, of course, the quotas may have been exhausted earlier. In about a year's time, we will carry out an assessment to gauge the effectiveness. And then in the even longer term, maybe we identify new skills. But of course, we will keep that in mind, and we will check whether we need specific skills. And of course, they can be accommodated in our future training programs. Mr. Hon, you said that the wage would be more or less $20,000. In fact, in the industry, for skilled workers, are you saying that the industry has to pay that much for a skilled worker? After all, we aren't talking about fully skilled workers. So we're talking about half of the wage received by skilled workers. And that's the minimum. Of course, the employer can always pay more. Does any other member wish to ask questions? If not, then that's it for this item. Members, do you support the government's proposal to go to the FC for funding? All right, thank you for your support. That's it for this item. For the next item, Item 6, facilitating the redevelopment of buildings under the Civil Servants Cooperative Building Society scheme. We have scheduled 4:20 being the time to start this item. I would suggest that we suspend the meeting, and then because we have completed our agenda early, agenda item 5 early, the relevant public officers haven't arrived. So I would suggest that we suspend the meeting for 20 minutes. We'll resume at 4:05. Thank you.